Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. Welcome back to Generational Farming. For those of you who might be jumping into the series here, this is a style of gameplay we're doing here on Farm Simulator Network, FSN. It's a multiplayer community, and we're playing through multiple generations, basically trying to build generational wealth through things like investments and so forth, but obviously it starts with how we do on the farm, and that's really our source of revenue. So we're starting year 3 in our first generation here. So it's spring. I'm going ahead trying to get to field 19, which is the large hill up there, and I did not realize that somehow I had the fertilizer on. It wasn't spreading because of precision farming, but yeah, it was causing me to go very, very slowly. But beginning this work here, so I'm hoping I will get this done in short order. A few other options out here today, but we'll see how things go. But I'm doing what I can, again, to try to make a little bit of extra cash. So I'm continuing to process the grass from my farm and turn it into silage. We're now starting down the downslope of things. I'll probably still sell some of the silage today to continue to make room in my silo. I also obviously need to take a look at my grass situation now that it's spring. Over the winter, you don't really get much of an update, and unlike last winter, I wasn't being given a stage at all, where I was last winter frozen in the stage I went into winter in, which makes sense. Grass usually goes dormant during that time. But in March of last year, I was able to immediately do a grass harvest. I don't think that will be the case this year. I think I'll be waiting a little bit. But obviously, I'd like to know how long that would be so that I can also, kind of plan and see if I can be available that day and so forth. So, depending on when this gets put up, just wanted to wish everybody who's watching a Happy New Year. We're coming up on the New Year. It's New Year's Eve. But this may not get up until after that, depending on things, because just like hopefully a lot of you, or all of you, I've got some stuff going on today for New Year's Eve, and certainly going to be enjoying the festivities and so forth. So just getting an early start in the morning, as I like to do, and getting whatever benefits I can. So I had been above 60,000, I think, before I started recording. I was at 62,000 is where I was at, but I've bought some fertilizer to be able to do this job. Looks like I may have to buy some more. So fertilizing contracts are a bit of a mixed bag, frankly. They're quick, especially with this fertilizer I have. When you've got a 42-meter spread, it goes pretty fast. This is a big field, so even with that, I was at 36% done. You can see I'm coming up on 50% of my fertilizer, so it is looking like I am going to need to go back and get some more. But I bought 3 bags. Now the majority of the third bag is still sitting there, but that's already $3,600, and we're talking about, I think, a $12,000 contract. So there's certainly room, but what I've found is the net profit on fertilizer contracts tend to really be just a couple $1,000s, so I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to put $9,000 or $10,000 fertilizer down into this field to complete this contract. So that's always the bit of a challenge here. But there's the other side of it, of this is what we've got available, and we do what we can and make the little bit we can. But the reality is, if I make 2,000, maybe even 3,000, I mean, if I get to 3,000, that's good, but if I only make 2,000, one 16,000 liter load of silage is worth more than that. So, and it doesn't take me as long to run that silage down to the sell point as it's already done for any of this here. I mean, probably the time it took me to get to the field, I could have run 2 loads of silage. So there is that trade-off, but at this point, we'll see how it all plays out here, but I'm thinking it's going to be unlikely that I'm going to finish this field without having to go get something, and that would be very surprising if I was able to do that, because that would be a hefty profit, and that would be pretty exciting, but I don't think we're going to get that lucky. Usually the numbers, which I'm driving right by here on the mini-map, in case you're not noticing, it's not on the field itself, tend to be in the center of the field. They tend to be placed that way, I assume, by the farming simulator engine and how it's worked. It's possible, I suppose, that modders can determine where the field number is displayed, but I'm not sure. And in any event, if I'm just passing the middle of the field, the likelihood of me being done with less than 30% of material left is going to be pretty low. There you go, we're at 71% complete. So, you know, we might get to 85 or something before I run out here. I still have, 8% material, and it's spreading quickly, but I don't even think I'm going to finish this row. So one of the things that I had said too is I'm going to do more contract display and showing here, because my work on the farm is simply grass. And so it's mowing, collecting, selling, mowing, collecting, selling. And that's kind of what's going on. And in a lot of times, I mean, the hope is that it's going to be mowing, collecting together because of the setup I've got using small equipment. But that way I only have to run the field once instead of twice. So I think the other thing I will do when I get to the shop is I'm gonna incur the cost of getting my equipment up to tip-top shape. Certainly start off the spring on a high note, and but that's gonna probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes my balance below 50,000. The nice thing is now I'm kind of at that point where I can take those normal costs of running the farm and not have to go to the bank and borrow some money to do them. So that is great. Okay, so I went ahead and bought 3 bags of fertilizer as well, so it's going to be kind of hard to tell specifically where I'm at, but $130 of fuel to fill up, that's never the problem. It's the lovely repair costs. So the fertilizer's $600, but the Massey's $3,200. So, good amount of expense, but with the fertilizer, another $3,600 or so. Or actually 5,000. Apologize. 3 bags is they're $18.20 a bag. So you can see I had 902 left there. I'm again going to bust into the 3rd bag because this fertilizer spreader will hold 3,200. But if nothing else, I figure I will certainly not have the option of running out, and more importantly, I'll have supply for whenever I need it. So let's get ourselves back to field 19 now with 47,000. So, right now that's the issue. I've taken a $15,000 hit. And this contract's not even going to get me whole again, but keep in mind some of my costs are not related to the contract per se, other than, wear and tear is happening on my tractor because of that. I don't know why, but through this town, even with the steering wheel, oh boy, this is what starts to happen. It just starts to drift, and I'm worried I'm going to end up in the river, so I just need to stop this happening the other way. I did some adjustments to my steering setup, but None of those should be broken, but it's almost as if it's slow responding, which it could be. I could be getting increased lag, and obviously I'm paying attention to where I'm driving so that I can avoid falling off the cliff. So I'm not really looking at the lag indicator, but the yellow in the 50s or 60s is kind of what I tend to be at the ping time on the server, so I'm not seeing anything abnormal, is what I'm trying to say there. Alright, made it back to the field, stabilized myself, and we're beginning again to continue on with getting this field done. Now, I will be able to adjust the size. Well, I might not need to adjust the size. Now that I look at that, that may be almost a full pass again on the field. 82%. So the hope is I'm at least at 90 by the time I get to the end of this row. But yeah, there's always a little bit of a challenge of, you know, can we get to what's available for work? You know, and some of it is just availability. You know, others are as interested in this as I am. And so obviously depending on when they can do things and what their plans are, you know, there are times we're in here and there's, you know, 4 of us, or could be up to 5 of us, because that's how many we've got on the server that are sitting there. No, I can shrink this, so let me do that. So I think this will work. It will, and even if it's not a full amount, which it isn't entirely, I basically don't want to be wasting any, because that will get me better improvement on the fertilizer as far as consumption, because I'm only spreading at 30 meters instead of 42. And so therefore I use less supply, which means I'll have more supply for using at a different time. I'm not quite sure why that edge is so jaggedy on the bottom end there of what I just did in the last pass. I mean, I'm using my GPS, but you know, prior to the last, when I came back and joined up, you can see it was a straight edge down on the mini map there, but okay, all done. So we're going to collect, and then we're going to accept field 36, which is down south. So I do like the fact that the mini-map will blink in kind of the location where it's at. I mean, it's off the edge, obviously, but at least I know, you know, I need to head here. Now you can see that 36 is kind of moving straight down below us, and so now I'm going to be going past it, but I know I need to get across the river, so we'll do what we need there. And the confusing part is I thought it was still off to my right, but that almost seems like I'd be going the wrong way. So I might go to the left and then cross, but I think then I'm going to be too far. But it's lining up with that bridge, so I think I'll head that way. I may be thinking of a different field. Obviously I must be. So I am going to follow the mini-map, because the mini-map knows where the field is, and clearly I do not. So what I was thinking of is there's a really large field that I guess would be on the west of the map. I thought that's what this was, but it must not be. And now that I think about it, that wouldn't make sense, because then the payout would be higher than what I'm getting. Alright, so 36 is down, because there's 35, and I think 36 is right below it. So I think it's that field that's not yet growing that's off to my left now. I think I'll rotate. So if I'm going to rotate, I'm going to go start near the river where it's straight. Get the highest percentage to begin with. And it does look like the field is longer that way. But yeah, I was worried if I started going that way, I'd be getting dangerously close to falling off the cliff with where I was at. So, alright. Let me move this back to maximize the field again, and we'll get going. Whoops. And this is where I have a problem, because now I need to maximize my spread again. So there we go. Let's back up. Didn't use too much, and again, it should hopefully clear things up. That's probably good. I can improve it a bit more. Let me get this, this out of the way. That will help. But, you know, getting an extra 12 meters is going to be a big difference in how fast we get through this. Now the question will be, is this small enough that I can get through with what I've got? I'm not sure that I can, but I'm going to work on it, and I'll pop back here and kind of let you know where we're at. But, you know, you've kind of watched fertilization of one field. It's probably enough fun with fertilizer for a little while. So I will keep on moving along, and I will let you know what I've done when I come back. So I'll see you in a bit. So had a little bit of a power hiccup here. So I have unfortunately been unintentionally off for many hours. We actually had a power outage of nearly 4 hours. So it's pretty substantial. I was starting to do some work when the power went out, was back at the field. Field's actually fertilized fully, so I don't need to do that. So my last piece here is to continue to get some silage sold. Good news is prices are still about the same of where they've been. So I can get 180 something at the biogas, assuming it's not full. Now what I don't know is if there were any contracts that had come up in between. Right now, the weeding contract that was there is still the only thing I see left. But obviously that doesn't mean that something hadn't come up and been taken and worked by some of the other folks. There's 2 people on the server now as well as myself. Okay, so the good news here is there's definitely plenty of space here. I might have 6 or 7 loads of silage, but you can see a lot of the bottom half of the container here. Usually the problem isn't until we're about 3/4 full, so I think we're good. So the important thing is I'll be able to get this amount, you know, over 3,000 liters, or $3,000 per load. So I'm done with selling the silage I have. I don't believe this should be a full load. It should stop at some point. If I'm wrong, I guess I'll be taking one more. Alright, I'm wrong. I'll be taking one more. So I'll connect after I'm done with that delivery. Alright, so now I'm back. 1,295 liters was what was left. So again, the fields are in good shape. Again, until I harvest, I'm not going to see things change up. And sadly, it looks like another FM is having a similar glitch to what I did on field 45. They took a weeding contract down there, and the weeder is doing nothing on the field. That happened to me a year ago on that same field. So it's possible that field is glitchy in some way with weeding contracts. So the last thing to show, I still have 91,000 liters to be processed. The only thing I did incorrectly that I'll do differently in the future is I didn't spread things evenly, so I could have had both of these silos working. Instead, I'm having to wait, and that means with that quantity of over 85,000, it's another day plus before that is going to be processed. Now, because this isn't in the harvesting state yet, and I don't think will be tomorrow, and even if it is, it's close enough that it won't matter, because at that point, splitting the harvest between the two silos, I'm going to have enough capacity either way. So it's one of those oopsies that aren't going to be impactful, unlike some of the other things. I mean, I'm still digging out of that non-fertilization problem I had before, but, you know, doing pretty well, approaching 100,000, so that is working out well. And at this point, there are no contracts out there, so I am done, at least for now. Again, I may hop in. I'll certainly check throughout the day as I have some time, but as I said earlier, you know, it's New Year's Eve. I'm going to be doing some other stuff. I am going to be done for now, and I'll see you next time.